All right, let's get right into it. We're going to trace the wild history of cyber breaches and really dig into how they went from being these kind of niche tech problems, almost like pranks, to full-on nightmares that can bring a whole company to its knees.
Seriously, think back. It wasn't that long ago, was it? Hearing about a data breach was a huge deal, a shocking headline, something that happened to some other unlucky company. But man, has that landscape shifted. What used to be a rare lightning strike is now just the weather. It's a constant threat.
And this, right here, is the single biggest mindset shift. For anyone in business, for any leader, this is the new reality. The threat is always on. The attackers never sleep. And a breach has become an expected risk you have to plan for, not just something you try to wish away.
So here's our game plan for this explainer. We'll start at the beginning with the early days of hacking mischief. Then we'll dive into the era of absolutely massive data theft. After that, we'll see how things escalated to basically digital hostage situations. And finally, the most important part, we'll pull out the key lessons learned so we can all build a more resilient future.
Okay, let's rewind the clock, way back. Before all our personal data was worth a fortune, the very first breaches weren't about money at all. They were really about curiosity, about pushing boundaries, maybe causing a little disruption. But they were absolutely critical warning signs.
What's so fascinating here is that nobody was trying to steal your identity. The Creeper in '71, it was just a research experiment. The Morris Worm in '88, that was an academic project that got out of hand and basically caused the internet's first big traffic jam. But what these early events proved was a simple and kind of scary truth. The second you connect computers together, you create a weakness.
And that simple truth set the stage for a massive change. Because once businesses started putting everything online in the late 90s and 2000s, I'm talking customer lists, financial records, the whole shebang, the motive for hacking did a complete 180. It went from, I wonder if I can do this, to, how much money can I make? The bad guys figured out that data was the new gold, and the impact of a breach went from a temporary headache to a potential company killer.
Okay, let's jump forward to the 2010s. This is when things got, frankly, insane. We call this the mega breach era, and for good reason. This is when the number of stolen records got so astronomical that the numbers themselves almost stopped having any meaning. It was just one crisis after another.
The Target breach in 2013 was a brutal wake-up call for every single business out there. The attackers didn't smash down the front door. They were way smarter than that. They slipped in through a side window, left open by the company that managed Target's heating and air conditioning. I'm not kidding. It taught us all a painful lesson. Your security is only as strong as your weakest link, even if that link is your HVAC guy.
And then came Equifax, 147 million people. Just let that number sink in. And this wasn't just about credit cards, this was the keys to your entire life. Social security numbers, birthdays, addresses, the crown jewels. And you know what caused this catastrophe? Not some top-secret government-level hacking tool. It was a single, known vulnerability in their software that they simply failed to patch in time. A completely avoidable mistake.
Then the number jumps to 500 million. 500 million guest records from Marriott. But you know what's even more staggering than that number? The attackers were inside their network for 4 years. 4 years before anyone noticed. It perfectly shows the danger of these slow, stealthy attacks. And it's a huge red flag for any company buying another one. You don't just get their assets, you get their hidden security problems too.
And to round out the era, the biggest number of them all, Yahoo, 3 billion accounts. That's every single user they had. It's a number so big it's hard to even process. But beyond the insane scale, the real lesson from Yahoo was about trust. They waited years to fully disclose the damage, and in doing so, they just torched their credibility. The takeaway? Hiding the truth only makes it 1,000 times worse.
So as we roll into the 2020s, the game changes again. Attackers got even bolder. They stopped just quietly stealing data in the background. Now, they started kicking in the front door, locking everything up, and bringing real-world operations to a grinding halt.
Welcome to the age of ransomware, which is basically a digital hostage crisis, and nothing showed its real-world power quite like the Colonial Pipeline attack. Hackers didn't just mess with some servers, they forced the shutdown of the pipeline that supplies almost half the fuel for the US East Coast.
This led to actual gas shortages, people panicking. It was the moment everyone realized cybersecurity is now a matter of public safety.
And then there's the supply chain attack, which is just deviously brilliant. The SolarWinds breach is the perfect example. Hackers poisoned the software update of a trusted IT management tool. So when companies installed the latest security update to stay safe, they were actually installing a Trojan horse. They were letting the hackers walk right in the front door, a truly painful paradox.
And if you need a picture of just how much things have escalated, look at this. In 2012, there were about 450 breaches in the US. Fast forward just over a decade to 2023, and that number is over 3,200. That's not just a trend, that's an explosion. It shows this is a persistent, exponentially growing risk that you just cannot ignore.
Okay, so we've walked through a whole lot of doom and gloom. Now for the payoff. What did we actually learn from all these disasters? This is the Defender's Playbook, forged in the fires of the biggest breaches in history.
These lessons are written in the scars of those corporate failures. First, patch your systems promptly. The Equifax disaster was a direct result of not doing this one simple thing. Second, control who has access to what. Don't give your HVAC vendor the keys to the whole kingdom. That's the lesson from Target. And third, you have to vet your partners. SolarWinds taught us that you have to treat your vendor security as seriously as your own.
And the playbook keeps going. Encrypt your data so that even if it's stolen, it's useless. Use multi-factor authentication. Have a plan for when the worst happens, and actually practice it so you're not panicking. Train your employees so they become your human firewall. And finally, be transparent. The lesson from Yahoo is crystal clear. The cover-up is always worse than the crime.
So, where does all this leave us? We've traced this story from pranks all the way to global crises. Now, let's pull it all together and talk about how we use these hard-won lessons to actually build a more resilient future.
I think this quote just nails it. There is no finish line in cybersecurity. The moment you think you're done, the moment you stand still, you become a target. Our defenses get better, so the attackers get smarter. Complacency is the single biggest enemy we have in this fight.
And this is really the ultimate takeaway. For decades, security was treated like an IT problem, something for the tech folks in the server room to handle. That era is over. Today, cybersecurity has to be a core value of the entire business. It belongs in the boardroom. It's just as critical to your survival as making a good product or having great customer service.
So as we wrap this up, I'll just leave you with this question. We've walked through decades of mistakes. We've seen the lessons that they taught us, often in the most painful way possible. The playbook is there. The only question left is, are you prepared to use it?